Dear listeners, we have good news. In the description under this video, you can find our new channel. Please support our channel by subscribing so you won't miss any new fascinating stories. Enjoy listening to it. My life was always easy and successful. I had never been a particularly bright or talented child, but even so, circumstances had always played in my favor. My parents were very rich and had their own law firm in our hometown. Ever since I was a child, all my wants and needs were taken care of without a problem by wealthy adults. Despite my poor academic record, I always attended only the most prestigious schools. At university, things were the same, but no one even tried to expel the rich son. I never had any complexes about it. I was not afraid to take advantage of my position in life. However, there was one thing that bothered me. Ever since I was a child, my father had said, "Son, choose your social circle wisely. Of course, you have the right to communicate with whomever you want, but remember that you will have to face the envy of others. Love can be easily bought, but keeping it is much harder." These words are forever ingrained in my memory. And in fact, my dad was always right. Because no matter how cliché it sounds, there's a reason people make movies and write books about human betrayal. All of my friends were successful businessmen, influencers, or other members of the upper class. My love affairs were no different. I had experiences with many girls, including actresses and models. I was even married to one of them for a few years. However, as my late father used to say, Rose is just a warm-up to Lily. I laughed heartily at my father's casual words. After all, compared to Rose, my present wife seemed to my whole family to be some kind of unrestrained phenomenon. We met in Texas while I was there for one of my company's business meetings. As a native of North Dakota, I was not impressed by the desert landscape. In an effort to avoid this heated trip, I sent my assistant there. It seemed that the problem was solved, and I could continue with my usual business without leaving my desk. But how disappointed I was when 2 days before the trip, it turned out that my employee had broken his leg. Such a coincidence infuriated me. I thought, what a shame. I guess God himself wants to send me to Kansas City. In that case, I had no choice. As I suspected, the trip was very disappointing. What can I say about the meeting itself, where everyone around me could see my displeasure? With difficulty, I sat through the hateful conference and went to the hotel, because I had several more meetings ahead of me for the whole week. The wait of several days was wearing me out, so I decided to rent a car and stop in a nearby town. As expected, there were very few options. Fascinating sights were scarce, but I managed to find a charming little cafe where I had a delicious meal. The place looked dreary and could definitely use a facelift. The old design was unappealing, but it suited the provincial town perfectly. I was not impressed until Lily approached my table. As this attractive blonde in a mini-skirt took my order, I could hardly contain my excitement. She was absolutely stunning. I immediately asked for her number, to which she replied, "You can wait until the end of my shift." "Sure," I said, "but won't your boss have a problem with me waiting here for so long?" Lily looked at me in surprise, her beautiful blue eyes shining. "Just order something now and then, like a coffee," she suggested with a smile. "As you may have already noticed, our place isn't very popular. I'm sure you won't be a bother here." "Great," I said, "but I'll have to wait until 11 o'clock at night." "No problem," Lily said, and went to continue serving tables. I watched her every move like a lovesick pigeon. I didn't mind waiting for my shift to end, even if it was 7 hours. My heart was racing with excitement as this was the first time I truly enjoyed this trip. The designated time passed quickly and I was already outside waiting for Lily. Even in the darkness of the streets, she seemed to shine. "So what should we do?" I asked. "Do you want to go to a bar?" "Oh, do you want to go somewhere else?" Lily asked excitedly. I thought it would be nice if we went back to my place. I immediately caught her hint. Without wasting any time, I quickly got into the car with her and drove to the address she gave me. She sat in the passenger seat, and I couldn't help but look into her beautiful blue eyes through the mirror. It turned out she lived in a small private home. The renovation was not the best, but for Lily's sake, I could overlook some flaws. As I stepped into the small hallway, I was once again reminded that the landlady of the building was just a waitress. I don't know what I was thinking at that moment, but it was too late to back out. Lily poured us each a glass of champagne. "I never got your name," I said. "Could you introduce yourself?" "I'm Daniel," I replied. "I'm Lily." She giggled and took a sip of champagne. Then she pounced on me, and we had an incredible night together. It turned out she was pretty amazing in bed. That night was one of the best of my life, and I will never forget it. It was that day that I realized I wanted to remarry. My decision was spontaneous, and Lily was surprised by my frank feelings. But she didn't mind. In fact, she was excited. I stayed in Kansas for a few more weeks, during which we got to know each other well and had a few more unforgettable nights. Then Lily was in for a real surprise. I took her to live with me, which she was incredibly happy about. My love knew that I was rich, but she never expected to see the 3-story modern cottage where we would live with her in the future. My father didn't like her much. He was skeptical of her and kept repeating his words that I should find a girl of my level. Many of my relatives looked at Lily with real disdain because her manners, attire, and other nuances didn't quite fit my lifestyle. But we managed to overcome all the difficulties that arose and live a long life together. It's been 25 years of a happy marriage together. During that time, we were able to have 2 beautiful daughters and a son. I was truly happy, for I had become a father. I loved this new family role. Lily was an excellent mother, and the children adored her. She also remained an enchanting woman because despite her mature age, she looked very well groomed and pleasant to look at. "Lily, have I told you that you are the most charming woman in the world?" She would start giggling in response to such phrases, just like the day we met her. And I happily accept it. And I also say that you are the most charming man in the world. I love you, honey, and I love you. It's moments like this that make life worth living. But there are also situations in our lives that can destroy all happiness in an instant. It happened on the most ordinary day. As always, I came home from work. It had been an exhausting day, so I wanted absolutely nothing at the time. I was frustrated because there had been some problems at work due to downsizing. Our whole family was sitting down to dinner. "Dad, how was your day?" My oldest daughter asked me. "It was pretty good, but these brash employees are wearing us out more and more every day. Things must have been better when your grandfather was alive." "Honey," Lily interrupted me. Apparently my complaints were simply inappropriate. I thought about it and concluded that the family really didn't need to be involved in any of my problems. I just sighed and continued on with my dinner. "It's delicious, Lily. Did you cook?" "Of course not. I was busy with other things tonight." "What kind of work do you have to do if you don't work at all?" I wondered. I couldn't finish my thought because a minute later, my phone rang. Normally, I don't pick up the phone when I'm not working, but today was not a good day. I was worried that if I didn't answer the phone now, I would miss something important. I picked up the phone and listened, but there was no answer. After waiting 10 seconds, I took the phone away from my ear and looked at the screen. It was off. The phone was dead. Oh no, it was also dead. "Someone give me your phone quickly." My wife turned to the kids. "You're always on your gadgets. I'd be surprised if they're not with you right now. Give Daddy the phone." The youngest daughter, along with the rest of the children, nodded negatively. "You're the one who scolds us if we use them," my 15-year-old son pointed out. "Lily, give me your phone," I asked. "My phone is in the bedroom right now," my wife answered. I looked at her in surprise, and then at the pocket of her jeans where her brand new smartphone was. She noticed it and reluctantly handed it to me. I took it in my hands and started dialing the right number. "Do you even know the number of your employee by heart?" Lily giggled nervously. "Certainly. He's such an assistant. You have to keep an eye on him." I pressed all the right numbers and was about to press dial, but I noticed something strange. A notification popped up on the screen. "Hi, Lily. How are you?" I was very surprised because in the image, you could see a young guy. "Lily, who is this?" I asked. "Excuse me? There's a very young guy writing to you and asking how you're doing." Lily waved her hands in surprise and asked me to give the phone back to her. Listening, I obediently handed it back because I really wanted to see her reaction and understand what it all meant. "What a bastard!" she shrieked. The children and I were surprised at such a loud exclamation. I'm out of my mind with anger, and I am shocked. Why is that boy still texting me? Something wrong? I asked reluctantly. Yes, the masseuse who massages my feet at the spa on Mondays and Tuesdays writes to me. This is ridiculous. I asked him to get off my back, but for some reason he would not calm down. After these words, Lily quickly got up from her chair and went into another room. I found the whole situation very interesting. Why is that masseuse writing to my wife? And also, how did he get her number? From that day on, the seeds of doubt were planted inside me. My wife used to guffaw when I mentioned the situation. I began to suspect treason, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. I had a great idea. I decided to find out if she really goes to said spa. My wife's heels were certainly svelte, but I decided to make sure by checking the transactions made from Lily's account. I ascertained that she was spending money on the spa, but I also found out that she was transferring thousands of dollars daily to other accounts. Now I was beginning to suspect my wife not only of cheating, but also of money laundering. The days went by and I had to pretend I knew nothing. This went on until I decided to check her cell phone. I found out her password beforehand and immediately began my investigation. Going into Messenger, I saw a dozen chats with people I didn't know. As a rule, they were young guys between the ages of 18 and 25. My surprise was indescribable. I went into the first chat room I could find and saw naked pictures of my wife. I was furious, but what struck me even more was that she was sending money to these young guys. In fact, she had them on her payroll. Lily was giving them money, and in return, she was arranging meetings and flirting with them. I felt betrayed. The tens of thousands of dollars that had gone to strangers was nothing to me, but I could still feel the full extent of the betrayal. I couldn't ignore it. In a rush of emotion, I made my way to the living room, where my once joyful wife was finishing her second glass of wine. "What the hell is this?" I shouted. Lily was surprised and spilled some wine on her white blouse. With frightened, deer-like eyes, she looked at me and couldn't understand. "Is something wrong? Don't take me for a fool." I knew from the start what the number on the masseur's phone was. He couldn't have just shown up on your phone. Lily thought that was the only reason I was angry. She smiled soothingly. "But it's really only..." I threw her phone to the ground, shattering the screen. "Daniel, what are you doing?" She screamed. "I know everything. I've read every one of those emails. You have a lot of nerve wasting my hard-earned money on this nonsense. I accepted you into my family even though you were a cheap waitress who threw yourself at me the first day we met." The expression on her face instantly changed. "How dare you humiliate me like that, Daniel?" "I dare," I replied. "I can't even imagine how many years you've been doing this. I need this. I want to feel young again. All the money I've spent in the last year means nothing to you. Sam, Anna, come down here." I started calling for the kids. Lily's eyes went blank. "Why are you doing this? What does this have to do with our children?" "You'll see." By this time, the children had come down from their rooms. They seemed very anxious and nervous. They were probably frightened by the tone of my voice, but there was nothing I could do about it, because all I wanted at that moment was to expose their mother. "Sam, do you know what I'm going to tell you now?" I asked my son. "Did we do something wrong?" The kid asked excitedly. "No, son, it's not your fault at all. It's just that your mother is cheating on me with a lot of guys. And I want to point out that you are almost the same age as them. You're about to turn 16 and your mother's lovers are about 18. Your 50-year-old mother seduces young boys and spends our savings on them." My youngest daughter started crying at that point. I felt like a jerk, but deep down I knew I was doing the right thing. Lily had been wrong all along. She had no choice but to fall to her knees and cover her eyes with her palms. She was not ashamed. She only felt sorry for herself as her foolish scheme was exposed. Lily had received her punishment in full. This act will most likely leave an imprint in the minds of our children forever. I can't say that my father's words were entirely correct, but after all these years, I now know that I have to communicate with people who are at my level. Maybe I should have thought of that from the beginning, before I started a relationship with a woman who was ready to get into bed with me on the first day I met her. What happened next, you ask? I'll answer. I successfully divorced my wife. We had a prenuptial agreement, so there were no complications. The children stayed with me. According to the prenuptial agreement, she wasn't supposed to get anything, but I took some pity on her. I paid her a small salary so she could make ends meet. Dear listeners, your support is very important to us. If you like our story, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very motivating for us. We need your feedback to improve our content.